Welcome to the College Football Prediction Roundtable, presented here live on the Bleacher Report app, where we give you our predictions and our picks on the spread on this weekend slate of college football games. Gentlemen, it's going to be a big weekend. I am Jay from Unfair Sports. We have Steven from Fanatic Perspective, Ty from Around the Table Sports, and Nino from Nino's Corner. How are we feeling about this amazing slate of college football games?
Jay, it's that time of the year, baby. It's that time of the year. Let's get it.
Yeah, man.
Last week is over, so I'm happy.
Fried butter and corn dogs. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep, fried Snickers, Oreos, anything deep fried. A deep fried car is probably going to be offered on the menu. So Red River weekend, but we've got some big games this weekend. Oh my goodness. From OU Texas to Ole Miss LSU to Penn State USC, where we're starting to see that, and Ohio State Oregon, we're starting to see that integration of the Pac-12. So we've got some big games to talk through. We're going to jump right into the first one. And then at the end, we will dive into our final picks as well as the current standings, because Ty somehow miraculously cheated his way to the top. So let's go ahead and get into this first game. We've got on the slate, South Carolina's going to be taking on Alabama, right? Alabama's looking to bounce back. They are a 21-point favorite in this game with an over-under sitting at 50.5. I'm going to go ahead and keep this simple. This is Alabama all the way. Whenever a team gets, disappoints on the national stage, typically a blowout, but just if they disappoint, they usually find a way to bounce back. South Carolina has just been quite disappointing over the last couple of games. I don't know if Lenore Seller is actually playing. It feels like he's not, even though sometimes he is on the field. So I'm going to go ahead and ride with Alabama to win this game. I think it'll be easy. And honestly, I think they cover the spread. It just feels like this is the perfect bounce back spot after the disappointment in Vanderbilt, Nashville, Tennessee. Steven, who you got?
I just wanted to share my condolences with our brother and friend here in Christ, Ty Hayes, after what occurred last week. I can't imagine going through that type of trauma that has fallen and been beset upon the Alabama fan base. And one Kalen DeBoer. I don't know if anybody heard Legends Call on Paul Feinbaum's show, but man, he set the tone for the week. And look, Ty, they can't lose this game. Okay, so give me Bama for everybody's well-being, for the hey, things are okay. Also, South Carolina, Jay, you kind of hinted at it. Their season, to me, that LSU game, that was one of those games where if they had won, I think it would have propelled South Carolina. But because of how they lost and them losing that 17-point lead, 3-score lead against LSU at home, game day, I don't know. I don't know if Beamer and those guys are recovering from that. As talented as they have, like guys like Dylan Stewart and whatnot, but give me Alabama to for the week to right the ship.
Ty, how about you, Tide?
Yeah, this is fascinating. I think the only thing that makes this better is Alabama. It's in a weird place where they have easily one of the worst losses of the year. Thank you, Notre Dame, for dropping the ball earlier to NIU, because now Bama gets to say we have the second worst loss. But they also have the best win right now in the Georgia win, right, where they jumped out on Georgia quick. That option offense Vandy does, it can be tricky to defend. Alabama did not prepare for it well. They got down 13 points early after that pick six. I think this is a redemption week. When we look at South Carolina, gentlemen, the interesting thing about last week is Alabama has been one of the best defenses in all of college football on third down until last week. And then last week, it was like incredible the success they had on third down. South Carolina is one of the worst teams in football on third down success rates on offense. I think this is a game where Alabama's confidence can go back up. Give me the Tide to win. I'm not going to go as far as to say cover, because I just hope that they don't play too tight, right? Like, they just need to go out there and be the Crimson Tide team who we saw against Georgia, specifically in that first half when the defense was making the adjustments and confusing Beck.
Nino, wrap us up. Is it a clean sweep?
It's a clean sweep come Faders, man. Give me Alabama to win this game. Man, South Carolina can't pass the ball worth anything, bro. They're only averaging 21 passes a game. They can really run the ball really well, but man, this is a bounce back game here for Bama. Look for Miro to have a big game. Look for Ryan Williams to also have a big game, and look for Bama's defense to just kind of make it simple this week and get back to the basics. Give me Bama to win this game.
All right, let's jump to the next game. It's probably one of the biggest games of the week just because the rivalry is ginormous. It's OU Texas weekend. It is the Red River rivalry shootout, whatever you want to call it, in Dallas, Texas at the State Fair. Oklahoma in Texas. Texas is walking in as a 14.5-point favorite with it over-under only at 48.5. I'm going to open up and just make it real quick because I'm the only one that's going to pick my team. I'm picking the Sooners, of course. I got to pick the upset. I just got to pick it. But the logic behind it is only one thing. I'm really confused at how great this Texas team is that they would only give them 14.5. I think that the odds makers think that this is Red River. Something stupid happens every time. So we're going to ask the question, can we get some Sooner magic this weekend? I'm going to pray for it. If Quinn goes out there and play, I'm hoping that we put a lot of pressure on them and let that rush show. Give me the Sooners. I think that they win. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game regardless, but I'm going to go ahead and pick my Sooners just because I want to see Steven's face. I want to hear everything he got to say. Pass it on to the guys. Go ahead, Steven.
So I like the reverse psychology here of, how great Texas is because the spread is in war. I see what you're doing. These are very nefarious tactics that Jay has resorted to, but that's what people do when they're desperate. Especially in a week like this, when they know belt to ass is coming to their team, right? Belt to ass is coming to this team right here. You see this? This is coming, Jay. That's the reality of the situation because Texas defensively is better. Offensively is better. Quarterback play is better. And the thing is, OU, you guys have, 5 receivers out? At some point, you need horses. And I just don't see enough. This is just straight fan talk for me. We can get into analysis and all that after the game and whatnot. But give me Texas belt to ass over OU up in Dallas.
Hey, I wouldn't have expected anything less. I actually been disappointed if you actually threw analysis in there. I need some fan stuff. This is supposed to be good. Ty, now give us analysis, Ty, and then Nino give me more fandom.
Yeah, this is the beautiful thing is I can resort to the analysis here, and then you guys can talk the fan talk. I'm here for it. When he pulled out a prop, I did not see that coming. Well played, sir. Well played, sir. He's had 2 times this year that will forever live in infamy in my memory. When I'm 95 years old, I will remember it, the belt. And then Sheehan Kyler Murray when talking about Boston College's quarterback. That is an all-timer. Give me Texas in this game. And when I'm going with the analysis, Steven, you started down the line of logic I was going to use. Oklahoma has 5 wide receivers out, and that's the talking point, but it's deeper than that. One of their best defensive backs is out. Their offensive line is patchwork because they've gotten some injuries there too. Their quarterback that they started the year with is benched. Hawkins comes in, and I must be honest, I'm having a lot of fun watching Hawkins play. I think he's an extremely talented young man. I think he's going to be a really great quarterback for OU. I'm excited to watch him suit up, but there's so much more continuity with Texas. Gentlemen, and Nino, I kind of want to hear you speak on this. When I look at Texas, I think they're absolutely deserving of the number 1 rank. But I just don't know how good the Texas team is yet. Don't mistake me for saying they're not good. I think right now they are the best team in college football. But how, if you're telling me what's their cap, I don't know. All I know is from watching them play, they are a really, really good football team who mitigated the losses they had last year of all the guys they sent to the draft, as well as you could possibly hope to, looking at that interior of the defensive line. I'm a Sark fan. I wasn't worried about the wide receivers. Give me Texas. I think they're going to get this done.
Nino, now do not give me analysis. I need fandom. This is why we're here. We can talk analysis after this one, but give me props. Give me noise talk.
There you go, Steven. Hey, BTA, belt to ass. Texas is going to demolish Oklahoma. Yes, I said it. They're going to cover the spread. The only hope Oklahoma has in this game is turnovers. And if Quinn comes out rusty, That's the only hope that you guys got in this game. Texas is too deep at wide receiver. Oklahoma has allowed 26 passes of 15 yards or more. It's third worst in the SEC. Not best, third worst in the SEC. Auburn with Peyton Thorne had 3 or 4 40-yard passes, and you think y'all going to have Isaiah Bond and Golden and Jonte Cook and Ryan Wingo and Bolden and DeAndre Moore, you think they ain't going to go off with Quinn coming back? And if Quinn doesn't play, which you know Quinn's going to play, we got a dude named Arch Manning on the bench that OU fans said was a 3-star if his name wasn't Manning. How that's looking now? Because your 5 stars on the bench right now because he couldn't get the job done. Give me Texas to win this damn thing. They're going to cover. We're going to win. And we're going to eat corn dogs, fried Oreos, and fried butter after the game. Hook them.
All right. That sounds like a heart attack, diabetes, and everything. All right. Now, let's get back to the actual analysis here. Next game, we got Florida and Tennessee out there at Neyland Stadium. Tennessee is a 14.5-point favorite at the crib. I'm going to go ahead and simplify me. I'm going to go with Tennessee. That loss to Arkansas was horrific. Luckily for them, it was on the road. So that kind of helps. Nico is still trying to figure things out in this system. We do see that Josh Heupel is the starting quarterback right now, but at some point, Nico's going to figure it out and get his reads on his own. I don't know who Florida's going to play at quarterback. Supposedly, it's going to be Mertz. If it's going to be Graham Mertz, they're going to lose by a lot. If they play Lagway and just let that dude figure it out on the field, which is probably the thing to do, Napier, you want to keep your job, play Lagway. I don't think he's smart enough to do that. I think he wants to get fired and get that buyout. Give me Tennessee to win this one. Steven, who you got?
Tennessee, that was one of the teams I thought before the Arkansas game was in that certified group of teams that Ty kind of referred to during the Texas OU pick. And Ty got me thinking, how many teams do you trust in the country right now? Like I actually do. What we've seen from Texas, they haven't given us anything not to trust. I had Tennessee in that trust list until Arkansas happened. And I'm concerned. The OU game was one thing. They had a lead. They could be conservative with Nico and how they were playing offensively, and they were still running the ball pretty effectively with Sampson. But then we did not see that typical aggressiveness in Arkansas whatsoever, and it looked like they were a little shook in Vietnam to keep it a buck. Florida's not really good. I'm picking Tennessee here, but I have my concerns. I need to see Heupel and them get back into humming. Where's that offense? Where's those 50, 60-point games, those big splash plays that we were seeing in September, right? I want to see them get back to that. So give me Tennessee here as a little bit of a get-right moment, but I would not be surprised if this game turned into a struggle. I would not, because something's a little off with what I've been seeing from Tennessee.
Ty, who you riding with? I mean, I think I know who you're riding with, but you're going to give us analysis. You're not going to give us fandom. Who you got?
I'm going to go with Tennessee. And the reason why, gentlemen, is when I look at that Arkansas game, yes, if you're a Tennessee fan, you want to get that win. You feel like you should get that win. But we have talked about Arkansas here on the panel multiple times. They've got solid running back play. That quarterback is explosive. If nothing else, you have got to scheme for him. Because if you give him an inch, he'll take 2 miles. When I look at Florida, I don't see the same ability to be explosive. Now, Steven, I love where you were going with this. Because we saw Heupel, how much were they up on that team when they went for the onside kick? I mean, just absolutely being pedal to the metal. And we haven't seen that the last 2 times. Yeah. We've seen Heupel. It looks like they're like, okay, now we're in the SEC, let's get more reserved, where if in my mind, it should be the opposite. Now you're in the SEC, now it's full steam ahead. This is a great week to do this. I've always said Nico is my favorite quarterback of that class, and that class had unbelievable quarterback talent, as we are seeing right now. Shout out Arch Manning. Give me Tennessee in a rebound game.
Nino. Clean sweep?
Clean sweep. Come fade us again. Hey, man, Florida is horrible at running the ball. Oh, I'm sorry. Florida's defense is horrible at stopping the run. Man, Dylan Sampson has been running his butt off this year. Everybody wants to see Nico go off, but I think for this offense to churn, Sampson, he is going to have to be that guy to carry the team. So Nico's young, right? So I think this is going to be a bounce-back game for this team. I got Tennessee winning this game.
All right. Simple. All right. We got three massive matchups. So we're going to try to make sure that we condense our takes to where you guys can get all of them. First game up for bid. Penn State travels cross country. They're headed to LA to battle USC. And ladies and gentlemen, Penn State walks in the door as a 3.5-point favorite. The line's kind of shifting down. USC had that horrible loss last week to Minnesota. Now, I mean, my apologies. I'm going to go ahead and say I'm sorry to PJ Fleck and Minnesota Gophers. I did say I felt like Fleck may have missed his window on a new job. Yeah. They taught me a lesson. So, Fleck, you still are out there for a better job. No, I'm going to take Penn State in this game. I think that this is the game that they need to prove to us that they're ready to ride with the big dogs. Their schedule gets easier afterwards with only one more premier game, which is Ohio State. If they ride this out with only one loss or maybe undefeated, they're in the Big Ten championship, and they're also in the playoffs. Penn State needs this a lot more than USC, even though a lot of people are calling for Lincoln Riley's head already. Give me the Nittany Lions. I think they win this one on the road. Steven, who you got?
What a disappointment from USC. And some of this stuff is what people talked about when they went into the Big Ten, of them going up north and winning some of these football games, especially when things get into the phone booth. And when they went up to Michigan, and they played well against Michigan, but they lost the game. They go to Minnesota and lose a game they shouldn't lose to a team like that with what they have on their roster. And now you're facing a Penn State team that has equivalents on their roster to what you have. Jay, I'm with you, man. Give me Penn State. This game is about Penn State. USC, I don't trust them anymore, but they should hold it down at home. However, Penn State has that ability to make some noise this week. Now they're in the top 5, more eyeballs. Expectations are there for James Franklin. Drew Aller playing, trying to put himself in that first round conversation. He's got weapons. They've got guys in the trenches. I really like how the defense has come along recently. This is the time where Penn State can earn some trust. Are you going to earn some trust? Give me Penn State here.
All right, Ty, who you got? And in the chat real quick, you're saying no one's calling for his head. I promise you, I'm seeing it everywhere. It's populating. Now, the logical fans aren't, but irrational folks are calling for Lincoln's head. Ty, who you got?
Yeah, and just for the USC fan out there, just remember, fandom is filled with irrational people. Bama beat Georgia, lost to Vandy, and people were saying Kalen DeBoer is not the guy. And I'm sitting here like, all right, the guy just wasn't in the natty, I guess, whatever. So, in fairness to you, the logical fans aren't, but fan bases are filled with illogical people. But I'll tell you what is logical, and that's Penn State winning this game. Because when I look at USC right now, I have more questions than answers. When I look at Penn State, don't get me wrong, I have plenty of questions, but not to the same degree I have about USC. USC's turned the ball over a healthy amount. I think Penn State handles the football a little bit better. And gentlemen, my favorite player on USC, I don't know if he's playing. Luke, if you hear this, let me know. Eric Gentry. There's talk about, even Lincoln Riley was talking about him possibly redshirting and said there's no final decision yet. That's not encouraging. He is the leader of that defense, and if he's saying, well, he could redshirt, but we don't know, there's no final decision yet, I don't like that. So I think Penn State takes this dub.
Clean sweep.
Clean sweep, come fade us. All right, man. Look here, man. When I look at USC's team, what are they great at? I mean, are they great at anything? Is as much of an offensive guru, as their coach is, Lincoln is, they have kind of decreased every week. So look, man, our friend Chris with a K told us this before. He said Lincoln Riley is great at the first game of the season, and he's great, like in a championship game Everything in between, he's going to lose one or two because he just gets out coached, and it looks like that's what he's doing. One thing I do know about Penn State, they are really good at what? Defense. They got a top 5 defense, and they run the ball extremely well. That defense is going to travel. Singleton and Allen, as the running backs, are going to run the ball very well. USC just lost Bear also, man. He is gone. The interior of that D-line might get tore up this weekend. Give me Penn State to win this game, folks.
Yeah, 2 things that travel, defense and run games, and Penn State's got both. Next game up, we've got an SEC Classic. We got Ole Miss going down to Death Valley to play against LSU. At this point, Ole Miss is a 3.5-point favorite, which is kind of surprising. Over-under is set at 62.5, which means this is going to be a potential shootout. I struggled with this one, right? Ole Miss disappointed me last week, taking that L. That made a lot of us look bad. Like, bad. That Ole Miss was not supposed to lose that game to Kentucky at home. But then they went ahead and bounced back in South Carolina, which we expected South Carolina game to happen because South Carolina has regressed. LSU, we've got a lot of questions about them now on defense with Harold Perkins out with that ACL tear. I felt like he was the heart and soul of that defense, and he ain't there no more. Can Jackson Dart play calm? Can he make it happen a lot better than he did against South Carolina? I think they do. Give me Ole Miss. I think this is the bounce back game from the big loss at Kentucky on the road. I think they feel themselves here, and they go out there and just dominate LSU. I think Ole Miss's defense is better right now. They're playing better defense, and their defensive line is really good. And that LSU offensive line that we thought was going to be like the Secret Service, few games, they've been pushed around. They kind of surprised everyone. Now, Caden Durham is doing his thing in the run game. The true freshman, 244 yards, 3 touchdowns on 29 carries. I can't even argue it. But I think that Ole Miss goes in there and they win the game on the road. It's at 6:30. It's a night game. Could be concerning, but I think Ole Miss squeaks away. Steven, who you got?
Night games, Jay, like you just mentioned at Death Valley, are supposed to mean something. What happened to the country I love, where we're out here picking against we're picking against the boys from the Bayou out in Death Valley at night? Wow. And look, all credit to Lane and them. They won against Jaden Daniels and them boys last year in a crazy shootout. That was an amazing game that they had over at the Grove. I think LSU gets their get back this year, though. At night, Death Valley. I'm sorry. I can't. I don't trust Lane all the way like that to pull that off in that environment.
Ooh.
And beat BK back-to-back years. That would be
true.
That would be something. That would be something. And you mentioned it. If we're going to talk about a key to the game, Caden Durham, them finally getting their guy and complimenting Nuss. Nuss is playing really well. He's throwing the football well, but he needed some compliment there. Give me LSU to pull this one out. I think it's going to be another wild game, but LSU's going to pull that out in Death Valley at home.
Ooh, good one. Ty, who you got? I mean, you've almost convinced me to switch my pick, but I'm going to stick with it. Ty, who you got?
No, I mean, that's great analysis. I am going to disagree, and I'm going to take Ole Miss. But when I say disagree, not from a standpoint of like I think you're wrong anywhere. You're 100% right everywhere. I don't know that I trust Lane to go back-to-back against LSU. I think that's a great point. But when I'm looking at this game, once again, to me it's about questions and answers. The best part of Ole Miss's defense is that defensive front, which in theory should help stifle that run game. When I ask what's the best part of LSU's defense, it's the offense. That LSU defense is terrible. And if you're going to attack Ole Miss's offense, you need to be strong up front. I haven't seen that from LSU this year in terms of consistently being that big-time defensive line. Now, they did some great hires this offseason. I have no doubt that in a year or two, we're going to be singing a very different tune about this LSU defense. Love the coaching staff they assembled. They just didn't have the bodies in order to go out there, right? Give me Ole Miss because I just think Ole Miss versus LSU's offense, that's a wash. But I do think on the defensive side, Ole Miss might have a bit of an advantage over the Tigers.
All right, Nino, it's funny. Everyone's looking at Steven, think he's got that confidence. Have to let him know. got that confidence and Henny in the system right now, so you know he's feeling good. Nino, who
and
you
it's
got?
not just the Henny. Steven has the white Henny in his system. So it's a little bit stronger, a little bit more potent, right, Steven?
Hey, you gotta talk to him about that pure white, baby.
Oh God.
I got a
Oh man.
You know who you got?
Hey man, this is gonna pain me to say this as a kid that was born and raised in Shreveport, Louisiana, the port city, you know what I'm saying? But look, I'm gonna go Ole Miss this game. Look, man, LSU's defense, their pass defense is horrible. So it's just straight atrocious, man. Jackson Dart's gonna carve up that defense like a hot knife going through butter. They're gonna win this game, and they're gonna win it in Death Valley. And mind you, I know the Death Valley fans, I know the LSU fans. Yes, I'm from Louisiana. I've been to the games in Baton Rouge at night. It is a different atmosphere, but I think Lane gets it done this week. I just think his offense is going to be too good for that defense.
Y'all trust Lane that much?
I ain't saying I trust
Kelly that much.
I know. There you go, Ty. Are we really putting our hope in BK?
We're looking at the Spider-Man meme right now. Who can I trust more?
Yeah.
And I don't trust either. But it does feel like LSU's defense is just a little bit worse at this moment. Okay.
BK lost to USC.
I know. It's just crazy seeing you go against your kinfolk over there, brother. It felt wrong.
See? Family ties. Big game of the week. I don't care what nobody say. This is probably one of the biggest games. And this is one of the reasons why realignment everyone was pushing for. Oregon hosting Ohio State in Eugene. My goodness. We don't get these type of matchups very often, except for a neutral site at the beginning of the season. For it to be a conference deciding game, massive. Ohio State walks in as a 3-point favorite. And I'm going to be honest, that shocked me. Oregon has not looked all that good in every game. There's a lot of games where they look like they just couldn't figure out their offense. They just felt inept in certain situations, but then they would close it out. The defense is, solid, but it's not what we thought. I thought it was going to be better than that with all the players they picked up in the portal over the last couple years. Ohio State walks in here with an offense that we're still trying to figure out. Is it good? Is it good? Is it great? We don't really know yet. I think that Ohio State's going to actually prove something because this is that prove-it game. This is the game that Ryan Day needs to get people off his back for about 2 weeks. Then he's going to have the next one against Penn State. Then he'll have a few more weeks. And then he has the big one where everybody's like, you lose this game and only have one loss this season, we're going to fire you, which is an absurd notion to even state. I think Ohio State wins this game, though. I think that Will Howard goes out there and carves up that defense. I think the run game, the two-headed monster that Ohio State has, it's going to be just a little too much for what Oregon can handle. Give me Ohio State. I don't know if it's a big win. The total is 54.5, so I think it's going to be close, but I think they do cover that spread. Steven, who you riding with?
You brought up Ryan Day, and to me, this is number 2 versus number 3. So this is another game where these are two teams, going back to what I said earlier, who do we trust? Who do we know for sure is good and it's going to be in the playoffs, going to be there in January? And both of these teams have a case right now at 2 and 3 and playing in Eugene. Ryan Day has lost 8 football games since he has been the head coach at Ohio State. 4 of them are bowl games. And then I think 3 of those were playoff games, right? So we know he's had the other ones against Michigan, but the other loss was against Mario Cristobal and Oregon in 2021 when they came up there with C.J. Verdell and Anthony Brown, and they controlled the line of scrimmage in that game against C.J. Stroud and Jackson Smith and Jigba and them boys. I like Ohio State in this game with all that preference, and it's because of the line of scrimmage. I think Ohio State is more equipped. I think they've been a little bored. And they've been waiting to really match up with somebody. And I haven't seen that same type of physicality, raw physicality that Oregon had when they had Penei Sewell and them guys, and they went up to Columbus and move them around. So give me Ohio State, Ryan Day, and he reminds people why he's 61-8 as a head coach. And we are really nitpicking here. I know he needs to win the big one, but he's still a very, very good coach, and he doesn't lose many of these games.
Ty, who you riding with?
I'm riding with Ohio State. And first off, how lucky are we as college football fans that we get some of these games? I mean, specifically this weekend, you have the Red River Shootout, you have this game. But if we take a step back, you have Georgia, Texas. I mean, you have some of these games are such great matchups for fans. I'm incredibly thankful for that. Steven, you're 100% right. I think going into this season, I looked at this game and I was like, I think this could be one where Ohio State drops. But as the season has gone on, my questions remain about Ohio State's offense. Not asking, are they a good offense? I think they're good. How good? Right? That's the big question for me, is how good are you? I don't question that defense, though. I think the defense is playing real good football. I've seen people try and nitpick Caleb Downs by showing the stats that he doesn't have a bunch of tackles. And I'm like, yeah, if your safety isn't getting 45 tackles, it means your front seven's doing their job. Great. Yep. Like, I don't understand the argument here. Oregon has left a lot to be desired from me because I know they're talented. I think that they're going to come out and look real good in this game. I think this game's going to be very close. But I think Ohio State gets it done. And Steven hit the nail on the head. For a coach that has the win-loss ratio that Ryan Day has, it feels like this year is a year where it's like, okay, it has to come together this year. I don't know why. Maybe the way last year ended up, but this year you have the talent. Great opportunity to go improve who you are.
Nino, clean sweep, or are you feeling an upset in your system?
Hey, man, clean sweep, come fade us. But, but first off, man, look, man, I couldn't not pick Ohio State. My stepsister who lives in, Ohio, big Ohio State fan, Tracy would not probably answer my phone calls if I didn't pick Ohio State this week. But I'm picking Ohio State, man. Look, Juckis and Henderson are both averaging about 8 yards a carry. I mean, I want you guys to think about that. For the season, they're averaging 8 yards a carry. And then if you stack the box against them, they got this freshman, like that nobody's talking about because Ryan Williams looks so good. But they got this kid named Jeremiah Smith who's 6'3", 220 pounds and is catching every ball thrown to him, known to man. And people want to talk about Will Howard, right? Will Howard, all he needs is just a competent quarterback that's steady and doesn't make mistakes, and that's what he's proven to do. He is running that team very efficiently. Ryan Day is getting the bad end of the stick here, man. He reminds me so much of Mac Brown when Mac Brown couldn't finish it off when he first got to Texas, and he was winning 10 games, 11 games, 10 games, 11 games. This might be the year that they, breaks through and gets to that top 2 or top 3 here. And I like Ohio State to win this game, man.
All right, next game. Now we're going to get to some fun ones. We've got some Big 12 matchups. I know, right? Fun, Big 12. Kind of weird, right? We're going to ride out here with the pick that all of y'all loved a couple weeks ago. Still surprising. We've got Arizona traveling up there to Provo to play against BYU. The Cougars, who are 5-0 and 2-0 in conference, my God, will be 3-point favorites in this game. And I had to debate, did I want Arizona to hurt me again? Because Arizona loves to hurt me in times that they shouldn't hurt me. Whenever I'm riding with them, they tell me, sit your butt down after a certain amount of time. So I'm looking at this game, though. Seriously, BYU defensively have looked really good. Their offense have shown up in games that they need to show up. Them barely beating Baylor, though, it's kind of weird. It's a little weird, but that's okay. I still think that they win this game against Arizona. Arizona's not very buttoned up right now. They don't look like the team they looked like last year. It doesn't look like Jed Fish is that coach anymore, and he is not. That's the reason why they don't look like the team they were last year. And as much as I love Noah Fafita, 7 touchdowns, 6 picks, he's liking to give the ball away, which I think is going to hurt them in this game because BYU is opportunistic. Give me the Cougars, and I think they actually cover the spread. The over-under is 48.5. Steven, who you riding with?
Give me the upset here. I'm going Arizona. Let's correct me if I'm wrong, but these dudes went up to Utah already and beat Utah, right?
They did.
On the road. So, I mean, at this point,
Cam Rising didn't play, but yes.
We can say. I mean, then they did the whole thing with that's been Utah's MO for the last 2 years about Cam Rising not playing.
Touché.
I mean, that's just part of their culture at this point. I I don't know. There's something weird. You talked about that BYU Baylor game, and I think BYU and Coach Shiitake and all those guys, I think they're really just well coached. But I have some personnel questions. And I think Arizona, one of the things I saw them do in the Utah game was just exploit a couple matchups there that forced Utah to play a certain way. And I think Arizona has the potential to do that again. I'm going with an upset here. I like Arizona to expose BYU athletically on the perimeter, if you will.
Okay, Ty, who you riding with?
Yeah, there's no doubt that Fafita and that wide receiver are must-see TV. Give me BYU. BYU has been the team that has come through for me week after week, even though you almost dropped the ball last week, BYU. I wouldn't have forgiven you. But whenever I look at this, whenever you look at BYU, gentlemen, they have the number 5 team passing efficiency defense in the nation. And when I look at Arizona, I'm like, if you're not getting it off, how you win the game. Arizona has left a lot to be desired this year. I think BYU has the means to attack them in a variety of ways. I don't know that Arizona has that same argument. There is no doubt, like Steven said, if you're asking who's the most athletic cat on the field, it's that wide receiver who makes freakish plays. But what do you have outside of that? Are you going to, if you win based on him, hey, listen, awesome. I think he is an unbelievable player. I like BYU a bit better, though.
Nino, wrap us up.
Hey, man, I say it like this, man. 3 out of 4 ain't bad. Give me BYU. All right. When I look at BYU's team, there's nothing that they do just great. Like Steven said, they're just a well-coached team. They're just a really good team that plays together very well. Not a lot of passing yards, not a lot of rushing yards. I think their quarterback leads the team in the rushing as well, like 150 yards or so. So they're not just an outstanding team, but they play well together and they're coached very well. One thing they do well is force turnovers. They got 10 turnovers this year so far, 7 picks, 3 fumbles. And Noah is going to throw picks. He's thrown 6 in 5 games already. I like BYU in this game, man. They got it.
Oh, okay. Final matchup before we hit all of our spreads. Another Big 12 barn burner. Legacy Big 12 team, Colorado, host Kansas State. The Wildcats are 3.5-point favorites in this game on the road. Oh, wow. Over under is set at 55.5. This one I did struggle with initially. Kansas State, after that shellacking from BYU, bounced back with a W over Oklahoma State. Took the bye week, and now they're preparing to travel across, the way to play an old foe from the old Big 12. Colorado went down to UCF and told us, no, we've got defense, and we like stopping teams that can run. They pulled out the dub convincingly at 48-21. I tell you that because Kansas State sucks at passing the ball. They're one of the lower passing teams in the Big 12. I think they're 15 out of 16 when it comes to passing. But they're top 4 in running the ball. Colorado likes playing teams that run the ball because their defense actually can stop them. That's the one thing they stop. They're not stopping much passing. Look at Dylan Raiola. But they're going to stop you if you're going to try to run all over them. I'm picking Colorado to win this game. I just like Shedeur and Travis Hunter, who to me is right there with Ashton Junty for the Heisman. Hunter is ridiculous on both sides of the ball, and he's playing just about every snap of the game. It's absurd. But Shedeur Sanders is having a really good year. 1,600 passing yards, 14 touchdowns, and only 3 picks. Kansas State cannot pass the ball. They're going to have to run it. And I think Colorado's defense, who just got Shiloh Sanders back, so their entire defense is whole again, will probably go in there and stuff a lot of that run that they're going to try to do. Give me Colorado to win this one. Steven, who you got?
Shout out to Travis Hunter. I'm glad you mentioned him. He's actually, I have him number 1 in my Heisman standings. And I know Ashton JT is on Barry Sanders' 1988 pace. I think it's the 2 of them and then a gap. And then I got Cam Ward, Diego Pavea, and Curtis Rourke of Indiana rounding out my top 5 Heisman candidates. But that's neither here nor there. When it comes to Colorado, Kansas State, I think this is going to be a wild football game, y'all. I think this is going to be a fun one. I think this might be the funnest game of the weekend. And we've talked about some really, really potentially shootout games. I mean, we got a rivalry game. We got Oregon, Ohio State. We got LSU, Ole Miss, which you think is going to be fireworks. I think Colorado, Kansas State's going to be up there with them. I like Colorado, though, because Shedeur and Travis and them know how to get it done when the money is on the table. When it's high leverage moments and it's 39-38 and we might be going to overtime. They just seem to be in those situations all the time. And Kansas State's resume is starting to look a little suspect. And I don't know how much of it is their fault, but Oklahoma State is trash. I mean, let's just be honest. Look, Texas and OU left the conference, so like nobody smells it now. I mean, because they're playing over on CW every week. But Oklahoma State's terrible. So, I mean, I don't know what to take away from that. But give me Colorado here, and Travis and them putting themselves back up. People have forgotten after the bye week.
Oh, that ether to make your soul burn slow. Ty, who you got?
Dub.
Listen, I'm going to take Colorado. And here's the one thing I will say. Steven, to your point, I love Travis Hunter. Ginty has the most yards in college football right now. And even if we look at his yards after contact, he has 20 less yards than the number 2 rusher in the nation, just in yards after contact. That man is running away with the Heisman Trophy. Listen, that man is playing unbelievable football right now, already over 1,000 yards. He would be number 3 in the nation if we just eliminated his yards before contact and looked at yards after contact. Looking at this Colorado game, guys, Kansas State can't stop the ball being passed on them. They're 70th in the nation in team passing efficiency defense. This was the reason I picked Colorado over UCF a few weeks ago. That pass defense for UCF was atrocious. They couldn't stop them. I foresee something very similar happening here. I do think Kansas State's a much better team than UCF. I wasn't very impressed with what I saw from the Knights thus far this year. I think this is going to be a more difficult game, but I think Colorado's well-equipped to take the dub.
All right, Nino. Clean sweep, family ties.
Yes, clean sweep, man. And to the Colorado
There
fans,
we
I just
go.
want to say one thing.
Toretto family's back.
I apologize.
He's picking
2
family
weeks
again.
ago, picking against those great Buffaloes. I'm sorry about that, fellas. But I will say this, Steve. I will say this, man. Avery Johnson and Giddens, man, they can run the ball very well. But like Jay said, Colorado can stop the run also. But Colorado takes things very personal. Coach Sanders takes things very personal. And who does Kansas State have in that running back room that used to play at Colorado last year?
Dylan Edwards.
We got this little kid named Dylan Edwards, man. I think Colorado's going to take this game extremely personal. I think they show up for this game. I think they win this game. I think it's too much firepower at the wide receiver position. Travis Hunter, you got Horn, you got Wester, you got Shepard, and of course, Big O, saying shout out to Vivian, Louisiana, Oil City, Rodessa, Caddo Parish. I see you. But, man, give me Colorado in this game. I think Sanders might be the best quarterback in the nation this year, and he might actually be one of the top, either the top pick or a top 3 pick this year. Give me Colorado to win this game.
All right, let's put those to bed. We're going to our covers. Here's our spreads presented by the DraftKings Sportsbook. Clemson, Wake Forest. Clemson is a 20.5-point favorite on the road with a 61.5-point total. I think Clemson covers this one. They've been playing really good ball over the last few weeks. They look like, Cade Klubnik looks like he knows what he's doing. He's out there giving us some scrambles. He's giving us some throws. It feels like they're starting to come into their own, and I just don't know what Wake Forest does good yet. I mean, they can run. They can kind of pass. I don't know what the identity truly is. I think Clemson goes out there and they just blow them smoothly out. Steven.
Yeah, there's every now and again Wake Forest pops up and they have some juice. This is not one of those years. Respectfully,
Kenneth Walker
give me
out there?
Clemson to cover. You said who? Hank Bachmeier?
Is Kenneth Walker not out there?
I was like, what?
From there to Michigan State.
Yeah, this ain't one of them years. Give me Clemson. I don't even need to analyze this.
Ty, who you got?
Clemson. Cade Klubnik is looking like the Cade Klubnik that Steven was advocating for last year. He's playing his best football I think we've seen thus far. And I don't know how Wake is going to stop it. And that Clemson defense is very good. I think it's a very good defense. Clemson's really rounding out as an interesting team this year, which I don't think surprises anybody, but I definitely like them to cover in this game.
Yeah, and Wake Forest is one of the worst defenses in their conference at 460 yards given up per game. Bottom of the barrel. Nino.
Not so fast, my friend. Give me Wake. I don't trust Clemson right now. I don't. I like Clemson. Don't get me wrong. Hey, they couldn't even, get the spread against Florida State last week. We're talking about Florida State, okay? 29 to 17, 29 to 20. I mean, come on, man. I mean, it's Florida 13, State. Yeah. Yeah, come on, man. So, look, I'm not saying I'm overly confident in this pick, but yeah, I'm going to go out on the limb. Wake Forest. Wake Forest covers. 17 points.
Next game, we've got Notre Dame hosting Stanford. I don't know what they would call this one. This isn't like the convicts versus Catholics or Wolf versus Coke. I don't know what we would call this game. But Notre Dame is a 22.5 point favorite. Okay. I feel like the Purdue game kind of skewed everybody's eyes on Notre Dame by giving them a spread this high. Because this is kind of wild to me that they would be this much of a favorite. But at the same time, what does Stanford do very well? Can anybody tell me that?
Academics.
They did win at Syracuse, which was kind of a shocker. But I'm going to go ahead and ride with Notre Dame. I think they just go out there and they just BTA, and they do it in a small way, 35 to 3. And they just take their time. Give me Notre Dame. Steven?
I got Stanford covering this. I think they've been a little spicy this year. Ashton Daniels and those guys, like you mentioned, the Syracuse win. Syracuse is a pretty solid football program with what Coach Brown's doing over there. And I guess, Jay, if you're looking for a name, we could do the Silicon Valley venture capitalists versus the Catholics, I guess, or something like that. We could tie that in somehow. But
okay.
Let's give me Stanford.
Silicone versus Catholics.
You got to put Valley after Silicone. People might get that confused. Something else, Jay.
Touche. Ty, who you got?
I'm going to leave that there. I'm not going to add in. I'm going to take Stanford to cover. I completely agree with Steven. Notre Dame, they have a really good defense. They have a really, really good defense, but the offense just has not clicked yet. And I don't like this spread. I think Stanford can get it done. But, Nino, before I pass it to you, a point of clarification. I said Jeanty would have been number 2 in the nation in yards after contact. He'd be number 3. Caleb Johnson has 766 yards. Amari Hampton has 764. Jeanty has 755 yards after contact this year. So he'd be the third leading rusher in the nation if we took away his yards before contact and only looked at Yak.
Jesus. All right, Nino.
Hey, man, give me Stanford, man. I don't trust Notre Dame at all. I just don't. I don't trust their offense enough to score, honestly, just enough points to get a 23-point lead, man. Like you said before, Jay, that game against Purdue, kind of skewed everybody's, thoughts on them. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So give me Stanford.
Okay. All right. Last one, and then we're going to go into our mortal lock so we can explain ourselves. Give me Georgia versus Mississippi State. Mississippi State's traveling out there, and Georgia is a 34-point favorite. Jeez, Louise. Simply put, Georgia's going to smack them around. They need to cover a spread. It's been a while. They didn't do it against Auburn, right? That was the game that everyone thought they would, and I knew that Auburn was going to muddy that game up. But this is the one where they go ahead and say, we got to do it. We need this. We need this for morale. The win against Auburn was not enough. We need a blowout. Give me Georgia. Steven?
Yeah, I like Georgia here as well. And Mississippi State, I thought they played Texas a couple weeks ago really well and hard with some of the adjustments they made in their lineup with Michael Van Buren and whatnot. But that's now on film. I think Georgia's starting to open things up under Bob. That Alabama game has forced Georgia to open things up more, and I think they'll continue to do so. I actually think they're going to cover this. Before, I would have been hesitant on it, but I think they're going to cover this 34.
Ty.
I got Mississippi State.
A deep breath.
I think Georgia's one of those teams where they're going to win. They're going to win convincingly, but I could see this being a 31-point win for Georgia. So because of that, I think Mississippi State covers the spread, and I just mean just barely covers. The one thing Mississippi State does decent right now, they did it decent against Texas, is run the football. And that might be the part of Georgia's defense where even though they're very good at it, run defense, they're still one of the best. If you're going to be able to affect them, it's on the ground, and I think that they can do enough to lose by 31 points, can Mississippi State.
Ooh,
ate up a lot of clock versus Texas, too.
That's true.
Hey, man, I'm going to tie on this, man. Yeah. Hey, look, I'm going to tie on this, too, man. Give me Mississippi State. And not because I don't think Georgia can get the spread. I just don't think Georgia has run the ball well this year. I think this is going to be a game where Georgia knows that they're going to come in and, and actually win this game, right? But I think this is, this is a game where this offense is going to try to get back on track, and I think they're going to try to force the run this game and try to eat up clock and try to open up that run. We've seen what their passing game can do against Bama. We saw it last week as well. But I think this is the week where I think they try to get right, just in that run game and hopefully eat up a lot of clock. And I do think they win by like 4 touchdowns, but I just don't see it being about 34 points.
I can totally understand that. And Georgia has Texas the following week, which will be their 4th game right after their bye. So you may want to preserve bodies. I totally get that. All right, mortal locks of the week, the games that we say that that's going to go down. Give me that first mortal lock. I'm going to go ahead and tell y'all, give me the Buffaloes. I think Colorado pulls it out. Kansas State is awful in passing defense, as Ty pointed out to you all, and they cannot pass the ball themselves. So if they think that the only thing they can do is muscle Colorado, who has been playing with a lot of muscle over the last couple of weeks, got another thing coming. Give me the Buffs as my mortal lock on the money line. I don't think they just cover. They win this game. Steven.
So I am going Wisconsin money line versus Rutgers in New Jersey. Rutgers is favored by 2 points in this game. Luke Fickle.
That's a good one.
They took an L to Bama. They took an L to USC. They were very competitive in the USC game before that game got away from them. They did get their opportunity to get their Purdue last week, 52-6, and they are very, very banged up. But Luke Fickle needs a big win. Not a big win, but he can't start losing. Even though Rutgers is pretty good and 4-1, Greg Schiano's done a good job back over there at that program. I saw some things again in that Nebraska game last week that makes me feel a little bit better about Wisconsin. I think they go to New Jersey and handle their business and win out.
Ty, who you got?
I love that pick. I really like that pick. I looked at that one, didn't want to commit to it, but I love that you did. If you know me, there's a team that I have advocated for a while, and that's Maryland. They take on Northwestern. Mm-hmm. Give me Maryland to cover. Whenever you look at Northwestern, they're number 124 in the nation in rushing efficiency, and that's the one area where Maryland's defense hasn't quite been there. Then the question is, can Maryland score enough to cover? Against Northwestern, I think the answer is yes. The line is 10.5 points. I like Maryland to win. I like Maryland to cover.
That's a fascinating one. It's tonight's game, so that's a good one. Nino, wrap us up. Who's your mortal lock?
Man, so my mortal lock, man, is I think Washington beats Iowa. I think Washington put the blueprint out there on how to beat Michigan last week. I think Iowa is a lesser version of Michigan, and I think Washington just really stacks up well against them. And I think, Washington is, I think, a 3-point underdog in this game. I look at Washington to come out and just outright win the game. Give me Washington. That's my mortal lock.
Love it. Love it. We're going out on a limb on some of these, except for, Ty, he decided to pick a favorite, but it's okay. I totally understand why, because ain't nobody thinking Maryland's a favorite at all. Let's look at these picks on the screen. This is what we've got for this week. Got some clean sweeps here. What I expected, we've got some, it looks like Steven is trying to get back his top spot by throwing some oddballs in there with LSU and Arizona, and I totally understand that. Good stuff. Definitely good picks, and we're here for it. Yeah, it's going to be a fun week. And then our picks against the spread here. We're going to go ahead and take a gander at who we've got. Hey, Nino with the confidence in Wake Forest is fascinating. A good split with Georgia and Mississippi State. I'm, of course, the only Notre Dame believer. But those mortal locks are juicy. Check them out. Go put your own bets in, too. And let's look at the final standings before we get ourselves up out of here. Send y'all home after Ty found a way to cheat his way to the number one spot.
Ty cheating.
But it's okay.
He's cheating.
It's okay. We know that he's paying someone under the table to make his to slide himself up there. But hey, last week for me was fantastic. Probably my best week on this show. But thank y'all for pulling up again to College Football Prediction Roundtable presented here on the Bleacher Report app. For Steven, Ty, and Nino, I'm your boy Jay. We will see you all next week. Horns down, Boomer Sooner, Red
Hook
River,
'em.
let's ride. See y'all next Friday.
Belt to ass, Jay.